True Heroes, written by Professor Emeritus Gary Earl Ross. In both classical and popular culture, heroes are extraordinary people. Sometimes they are forged in the fires of upheaval and loss, born of gods or on other planets, or bitten by radioactive spiders. Sometimes they lack the great powers that carry great responsibilities. They are simply dropped into circumstances that reveal something they never saw in the mirror. What is the true nature of a hero? Whether in novels or comic books, myths or operas, whether historical or alive today, true heroes choose to do what must be done in the face of adversity. They choose to press ahead. They choose to do the right thing simply because it is the right thing. With a deadly pandemic, civil and political unrest, economic disparities magnified as never before, 2020 has been the most trying year in living memory. A healthier world springs not from petty pursuit of prosperity, but grows in unselfish hearts concerned about others. This year, such hearts beat in the chests of medical professionals in ERs and intensive care units. They pulsed in the wrists of busy hands working along the entire food and essential products supply chains. Such hearts pushed forward first responders who still had to answer calls to fires, accidents, crimes, and other emergencies. Such hearts lay behind the smiles of educators mastering new technologies to keep students connected and engaged, behind the words of news media and elected leaders who tirelessly kept us informed, behind the actions of others who gave when they didn't have to. Genuine heroes build healthy communities. Healthy communities build a healthier world. NFJC is pleased to salute exemplary heroes in our community, Western New York. They are our strength, the best among us, and we are better because of them. Good afternoon, and welcome to the 2021 NFJC Community Heroes Awards Program. We're coming to you today from the Tacoma Performing Arts Center in North Buffalo, and what a beautiful space this is. This newly envisioned event for 2021 features those in our community who have helped us, supported us, and guided us through some very difficult times. Today, we are honored to be sharing their stories with all of you. Be prepared to be inspired, uplifted, and hopefully motivated to also become a hero to others, something we can all use and benefit from. The NFJC is one of the region's oldest human relations organizations, and we are dedicated to bridging divides and bringing people closer together. Through the generosity and support of WGRZ TV and our presenting co-sponsors, Independent Health and M&T Bank, along with other supporters, we are able to bring this meaningful program directly into your home. And for that, we say thank you to all that helped make this event happen. Some may ask, what does a hero truly mean? And to explain that, I offer a quote. If we think in terms of our lives as a story, then I'd bet we can all agree we don't want to be the victim or the villain. So who's left in our cast of characters? The hero. And what are some of the core attributes of a hero? A hero is strong but flexible, open-minded, gracious, and focused on setting things right in the world. The hero is not a bully, nor does the hero allow others to bully him or her. Be the hero of your own story. And now to begin the program, here is a message from event co-chairs, NFJC board members Anna McCarthy Esquire and the Reverend Craig D. Pridgeon.
I greet you with the peace that would surpass all understanding. I am Pastor Craig D. Pridgeon, and I am so excited to co-chair the 2021 Community Heroes Award celebration with my dear friend and fellow NFJC board member, Anna McCarthy. Thursday, March the 5th of 2020, my father called an emergency staff meeting. The rumors of this thing called the coronavirus had hit the state of New York, and at this point, it was too far away to pose any immediate threat, but as stewards of the body of Christ, a decision needed to be made as it relates to the normal corporate worship. During that staff meeting, I looked into the eyes of a man who, under all circumstances, exuded the highest levels of control and authority, and saw a look I had never seen before. The precariousness of the situation left way too many unfavorable possibilities. Thursday, March the 5th, we decided to close the doors of our church as the genesis of a national pandemic was on the horizon. Like myself and my father, so many leaders across the country have had to make tough decisions that would impact the lives of everyone who followed them and trusted their judgment and leadership. In the epistle to the Romans, the Apostle Paul writes, "We glory in tribulation also, knowing that tribulation worketh patience, and patience experience, and experience hope." I have hope today because Western New York has some of the most amazing people in the world. Today we celebrate those who, despite the odds and tribulations, did not allow the pandemic to stop them. Everything around us has changed. The way we shop, the way we eat, the way we work, even the way we worship. But these community heroes have made a decision not to sit back and watch what happens. They have made a decision not to sit back and say what happened, but they made a decision to make things happen. I am peacock proud to celebrate you today for the tenacity, the drive, and the fortitude you have shown during some trying times. Thank you for joining us, and I sincerely pray that something is said today that would encourage you to become a financial supporter and advocate for the mission of the National Federation for Just Communities.
Welcome, and thank you for joining us for the inaugural NFJC Community Heroes Awards Luncheon. My name is Anna McCarthy. I'm an associate with the law firm of Harder, Seacrest, and Emery, and I'm also a proud board member of the National Federation for Just Communities of Western New York. I am so grateful to have had the opportunity to co-chair this year's event with Pastor Craig Pridgeon, and I couldn't be more proud of the work that the team at the NFJC and our selection committee has done to put together such an inspiring and important event. The NFJC has already had a long tradition of honoring community leaders in Western New York who have made significant contributions to our region through their involvement with volunteer activities, their encouragement of efforts to overcome racism, bias, and bigotry, and their specific achievements in areas of community and professional life. This year's event is a special spin on this great tradition. This year, the NFJC is shining the spotlight on some of the people who have made an impact on our community during an incredibly difficult and unprecedented year, as we've experienced a health crisis and seen civil unrest here and throughout our country. During challenging times, I usually find that it's my natural inclination to seek the support and company of family and friends, but that has obviously proven to be difficult in the middle of a pandemic. Instead, for myself, and I think for many others, we've been forced to retreat into smaller social bubbles and focused inwardly on our own challenges. So what I find most inspiring about our honorees today is the way that the challenges of the last year have brought out the very best of each of these individuals and organizations and turned their focus outward. Each of today's award recipients has placed great importance on the well-being of their neighbors and fellow Western New Yorkers through their words and their actions, by raising money for medical supplies, by being vocal advocates for people of color, by bringing resources and information to underserved communities, and giving back to hardworking, essential workers, and encouraging and motivating their fellow community members. Our honorees are particularly special examples of the generosity and selflessness of our neighbors, and today's event is about celebrating the resilience of our community. I'm especially proud of the diversity of the award recipients we will hear from today, from students to educators to essential workers, nonprofit groups to small businesses. These individuals and organizations are the very, very best of our community. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for joining the NFJC, and enjoy the show.
Good afternoon. As chairman of the board for the National Federation for Just Communities of Western New York, I want to welcome you. For the past 70 years, the NFJC has recognized individuals who have been leaders in our community at our annual Community Leader Luncheon, typically held at the Buffalo Convention Center. As a community and as an organization, we have had to adjust to so many challenges in our country and right here in Western New York during the past year. We see a focus on the coronavirus pandemic, a surge in civil unrest sparked by an increased awareness of social injustice and economic disparities. Based on the overwhelming attention to these issues, the NFJC decided that this year we would make a change in how we honor our community leaders by placing an emphasis on those who have answered the call to specifically address our recent challenges. To all who continue to exemplify the mission and goals of the NFJC to make ours a region that's better and a more just community, we say thank you. Together, we can and do make a difference. Now I'd like to introduce Lynn Leopold, who is the office manager for the NFJC, and Mark Rooney, our program director, who will tell you a little bit about our 2020 Community Heroes.
Yan Hung Na Baranski never thought she would be called a hero. Not only does she serve as president of the Chinese Club of Western New York, she also teaches Mandarin at Chinese school. The Chinese Club of Western New York made it their mission, not only as Americans but Buffalonians, to raise money for the purchase of PPP equipment, which was then distributed to community organizations who work with those disproportionately impacted by the pandemic. The Chinese Club also delivered meals to frontline healthcare workers at Roswell Park Comprehensive Cancer Center. Thank you, Yan Hung Na Baranski.
My name is Yan Hung Baranski, and I come from the Chinese Club of Western New York. And I'm the president of Chinese Club. And so our club, set up in 1956. And so now we have over 100, almost like 200 families in our community. We have some doctors, working in different hospitals. The Chinese community, the doctors, and they told us, they have no masks, and so they really need. And we think we are part of the Buffalo community and a part of the American community. That's our mission, to do something to help our local community. And also not only from the Chinese community, and also from the Jewish community. I sent message to my Jewish community friends, and they spread to the Jewish community, and the people really donate money to help. Everyone knows we have to help our own city, our own community. We are one family together. Then we donate the masks to the nursing home also, because they are the elder people. They are in danger, more danger than other people. So if they get protect, less people get sick, then we are safe in our community too. It's worthless to for me to say thank you, because really. I really appreciate, I'm not alone, I think, I got Hero Award, but I think there's lots of people behind me and help me.
Coming up right after the break, we'll have more special honorees.
Hi, I'm Claudine Ewing. An important part of our mission at WGRZ is to shine a positive light on the great people and great organizations who help make Western New York a better place to live. We value the hard work that both individuals and institutions have done throughout Western New York. We are awed by the dedication you have shown in order to make such a positive impact on our community. And that is why all of us at Two on Your Side are proud to support the NFJC and the 2021 Community Heroes Awards.
Dr. Rolanda Ward is the director of the Rose Bentley Ostapenko Center for Race, Equality, and Mission at Niagara University. There, she works with her team to create relationships and collaborations across traditional divides in our community and to be a resource on issues of racial equality. In response to the pandemic and the many ways it disproportionately affects our community, Rolanda created and now leads the Niagara Falls Health Equity Task Force. In this role, she works with all levels of the community, government, and healthcare stakeholders to ensure that supplies and materials, testing and treatment, and food and housing are available community-wide. She coordinates these services, however, in ways that ensure social justice is being practiced in the responses to the COVID crisis. Rolanda is a relentless communicator who successfully pushed to increase testing throughout the city, and she has worked to promote education and outreach about vaccination, particularly to those populations who have been traditionally underserved and or even misserved by the healthcare industry. Thank you, Dr. Ward, for your leadership and care during these difficult times.
So I'm Rolanda L. Ward, and I am a professor at Niagara University, Associate Professor of Social Work.
What do you do?
So I teach undergraduate students about social work, and I'm a macro social worker. So that means that I'm trying to help students have a better understanding about how to create change in community, and how do we tackle some of the real social justice issues that exist. I'm also the faculty director, the endowed faculty director for the Rose Bentley Ostapenko Center for Race, Equality, and Mission at Niagara University. And we're interested in increasing people's understanding of racial equity in Western New York. So I was extremely troubled when the numbers started coming out about the racial disparities that our brown and black community members across the nation were dying at higher rates, that their infection rates were higher than their population rates. And I had friends at Mount St. Mary's Hospital up in Lewiston. I reached out to them and said, listen, I'm not sure what my intent is, but I just need to talk about it. I need to talk about the fact that these numbers aren't right and they aren't fair. And so we had a couple of initial conversations, and as we had those conversations over the course of a week and a half, we added a few extra people to each call. And by the end of a week and a half worth of phone calls, we decided that we should probably bring together some community leaders in Niagara Falls to see what was the state of the pandemic in the Falls when it came to our brown and black community members. And by June 1st, we had launched a Niagara Falls Health Equity Task Force. And this task force has over 20 key executive leaders who meet every Monday at 10:30 to talk about how the pandemic is impacting Niagara Falls. We're looking specifically at community education, testing, and now we're looking at the distribution of the vaccine. So, when we talk about addressing social justice in our communities, it has to start with, are we bothered? Are we bothered by something that's befalling our community members? And then we have to ask the question, what can I do? And so we advocated for increased community-based testing, for testing to happen in housing authorities, for testing to happen at schools, and for testing to happen at shelters, those places. The second thing that we did is we hit the streets and we took masks out to our community members, and we handed masks out all across Niagara Falls, in barber shops, in community stores. We went door to door. Those were some of the things that we did. And most importantly, we created a network where all of these executive leaders are working together instead of in silos to address the needs of community members. I just go back to, I'm just a kid from the east side of Buffalo. That's who I am. And I was raised in the church, and the church said to me that you have to do good. You have to seek justice. And so this is just who I am. And I kind of get a little emotional about it because it makes me sad when people don't see themselves as an advocate for community. In order for us to do this thing called life, we have to do it together.
Stephen Hall is a student leader at the Nichols School who has risen to the challenges of these times in remarkable ways. A senior, he is president of the Student Council and has won several awards for both his academic prowess and his service to the school. Stephen is admired for both his scholarly achievements and his kindness to others. Stephen is a uniter on campus, and through his many involvements, the Chinese Calligraphy Club, the Comic Book Club, and the Gender and Sexuality Awareness Club, just to name a few, he has had a tremendously positive impact on the school community. As an African-American male navigating in a predominantly white institution, Stephen has done much to increase inclusion in his school. He has led Black History Month presentations at both the middle and high school, and as a member of Nichols Black Student Union, he has served as a mentor to younger students of color. Thank you, Stephen, for your leadership and service during these difficult times.
Hi, I'm Stephen Hall. I'm 17 years old. I go to Nichols School as a senior. There are like minor issues where now, oh, you have to wear a mask and everyone's freaking out about that. But, you know, not being able to do things you might want to do, like see your friends or go out and, you know, visit places, visit family. I know that was something where, you know, we couldn't have everyone over for Thanksgiving or Christmas, so. But, you know, I know a lot more people are struggling with this more than I am. At school, I'm serving as co-president of the student council. So what we're trying to do is trying to get all the students, you know, incorporated in as much in student life as we can, even though we have some on campus and some virtually. Not only that, but we also have ramped up community service efforts. Earlier in the year, we had a food drive going out, and we helped out with that, and we were able to get 2 busfuls of food and supplies.
Last year, during our Black History Month, Stephen stepped forward. He had a presentation about lesser-known African-American figures that he presented. It was so well received that our middle school wanted him to come over, and without hesitation, he said absolutely, and was at the ready to deliver the same presentation for our middle school.
I feel like heroes kind of really what's the best way to say this? A term that's really used to go for the exaggerated type of a hero, like a superhero, someone who's doing going further beyond what you'd expect a normal person to be doing, when I really think it's kind of the opposite, where, you know, a hero is somebody who can just do the right thing and not have to ask for recognition about it, and just to keep going on with their daily life, knowing that, you know, they're helping people, and that's the right thing to do.
George Baba Eng is a true champion for the rights of the incarcerated. He spent more than 3 decades behind bars for a violent crime he committed as a young man. It was a crime for which he is remorseful, and something that changed the direction of his life. Baba Eng has set up 12 restorative justice hubs throughout Buffalo, and he currently volunteers with both Erie County's Corrections Specialist Advisory Board and the Executive Board of Legal Aid of Buffalo. During the pandemic, George has increased his efforts to give back to the city. With the African relief effort, he has been delivering food and dry goods to the elderly and those in need. In this role, he's been a lifeline, a point of contact for those who are alone, a barrier to keep healthy those at most risk, and a bringer of hope to those on whom social distancing and other practices have taken a heavy toll. Thank you, George, for your service and dedication to those in need.
My name is George Baba Eng, and I'm currently the Outreach Specialist, coordinator of the Safe Home Program, which is a reentry program at the Community Health Center of Buffalo, New York. I'm also the Program Director for Prisoners of People 2, and currently we're working on a very positive initiative that's going to be of great benefit to our community, which is the Safe Home Program, which will be a reentry housing facility for men coming out of prison to the Western New York area. For 36 years, I was face to face with what racism and oppression and white supremacy looks like. The prison system, particularly in New York State and probably throughout the country, although I haven't had any experience in prison other than in New York State, but New York State is run on a system of racism, brutality, oppression, white supremacy, and exploitation. The devaluing of human life begins once a person steps into the criminal justice system, from arrest through release. from one point to the other. And being in prison and being confronted with that, but yet finding out what my true value as a human being was and what my commitment to serving human beings should be. When I saw what happened to George Floyd, that was like another rock being placed on the top of my soul that I had to release myself from again, all over again. His death symbolized what I had gone through for 36 years. While I was in prison, I became a political prisoner. I began fighting for other prisoners' rights. I filed lawsuits against the state of New York for prisoners to be able to pray, for prisoners to be able to get a proper diet, for living conditions to be changed and altered, for guards to be required to have evidence when they file misbehavior reports in order to punish prisoners or create disciplinary actions against prisoners. All of those lawsuits caused me to be, in their words, a thorn in the side of the system. I believe that if we begin to hold community circles, that means reaching out to those who don't believe as we believe, those who have other ideas about ethnicity and how human beings are created and what human beings should do in relationships with each other. Reaching out to them and bringing them into a circle where we can hear their voice and they can hear our voice. We can hear their stories and they can hear our stories. And usually when people hear each other's story, that opens the heart. When people become vulnerable with each other, when people know that the same pain that you feel is the same pain that I feel.
Lace and Day, opened by sisters Emily Constantine Duran and Holly Constantine Ortman, has given back to the Western New York community since it opened in 2015. A small, intimate apparel boutique in Allentown, they have worked to raise funds for and support Buffalo's vibrant nonprofit community. Recognizing the toll that the pandemic was having on healthcare workers of all genders, the long hours, the stresses and strains and losses, the impact of being on their feet for even longer hours than normal, Emily and Holly knew they had to do something to help. To do this, they created the Lace and Day Comfort Project, through which essential workers could receive gift packages of critical comfort items. Open to responders of all genders, this allows recipients to get respite from their work, to relax at home in comfort, to unwind and release some of that burden, to hopefully feel fully human and at peace, if only for a few short hours. This is a tremendous gift to those on the front lines of this crisis, and we thank Lace and Day for their efforts.
Lace and Day is a bra fitting and lingerie and undergarment pajama store in downtown Buffalo. We're actually in Allentown. And our mission is to make women feel comfortable and confident, to make them feel like the best version of themselves. A year ago, we thought the biggest challenge we were going to have was the paper bag ban. And our world changed. The plastic bag ban was going to be the biggest thing that happened in 2020. And about 10 months ago, our world changed so dramatically in ways that we could not possibly have anticipated. I feel so fortunate that we were in our 5th year of business and not in our 1st or 2nd year of business as we went into the challenge of the pandemic. Like many retail stores, we had to contend with the reality of having to shut our businesses by mandate. So we didn't have a choice. We had to close our doors, but what did that mean for how we could continue our business going forward, how we could care for our employees, how we could continue to care for our customers and our community. There was actually another store, there was a store in Illinois that had started something that she was calling the Comfort Project, and she's a friend, and she reached out to us and said, you guys need to start doing this too.
So the Comfort Project was an initiative established by a store called Chantilly Lace in Wilmette, Illinois, and we were one of the first other small boutiques in the country to sign on to it. And the idea was for individuals in our Lace and Day community, in the Buffalo region predominantly, who wanted to give back to those on the front line of the pandemic. And so people could buy a gift for a frontline worker. That's really what it was. So we focused on nurses and nurses' aides and certified nursing assistants. We communicated through the foundations of the 2 major hospital systems in our region, and we were able to put together almost 200 gifts for nurses and nursing staff in those facilities who are directly working with COVID patients. In the case of the Comfort Project, it was a matter of asking what we could do to help the people around us. And we're sisters, and one of the things that was always instilled upon us by our parents when it came to philanthropy was that your actions should call on other people to ask what they themselves can do as well. And so I hope that by people seeing what we did with the Comfort Project, that they ask themselves how they could help other people, whether as a business or an individual. How it was very easy in the early days of the pandemic to hole up to. It would have been easy for us to shut our doors and try to ride it out and deal with all the things we had going on at home and all the stress and everything else. And we decided to take a different path and figure out how we could help and how we could give back. And I hope that our actions prompted other people to ask the same questions.
Coming up right after the break, we'll have more special honorees.
To the dreamers, the doers, the cultivators, and the storytellers. To the teachers, the builders, to those just getting started, and those who've accomplished so much. To today's leaders and the next generation. To all the communities we serve, we believe that together we can make things better for all.
The Western New York Foundation, founded in 1951 as a Wildroot Foundation, has its roots deeply embedded in Buffalo. Over nearly 70 years, the foundation has awarded grants of $17 million focusing on key areas such as supporting strategic leadership, collaboration, expansion of resources for long-term sustainability, and enhancing operational effectiveness. The Western New York Foundation has recognized the hardships brought on by COVID-19, and it's been proactive by identifying agencies that were on the front line of the response to the pandemic and provide them with immediate grants. Western New York Foundation provided the resources to agencies across 5 counties who have addressed immediate access to food, as well as agencies that work in equality and social justice arenas. Thank you to the Western New York Foundation.
Good afternoon, I'm Andy Dorn, President of the West New York Foundation. I'm very happy to be here this afternoon with Beth Gosh, our Executive Director, to accept your Heroes Award. It's a terrific honor for us, and we greatly appreciate the recognition. The West New York Foundation was founded in 1951 by a partner in the old Wildroot Cream Oil Company, one of the most famous products ever manufactured in Buffalo. He bequested a stock in Wildroot worth $100,000 in 1951 to the foundation. And in 1959, when Colgate-Palmolive bought Wildroot, that stock was worth $2.3 million. Today, the foundation has assets over $20 million, and we've made grants over the last 70 years of over $18 million. The foundation has 9 trustees. Our focus is in making capacity building grants in the 7 counties of Western New York. We focus on the smaller community benefit organizations and the smaller non-for-profits.
We started out really quickly by just supporting some of the groups that we have known for years that are really on those, doing that frontline work around food access and safe housing. And we distributed straight up operational grants to several nonprofits across the region. Organizations like Massachusetts Avenue Project, Push Buffalo, the YWCA in Batavia, Genesee County, the Community Action Organization in Wyoming County, the YMCA of the Twin Tiers in Cattaraugus County. So those were, and then some of the different church groups.
One of the things that our foundation does that none of the other foundations do that we're aware of is our trustees go out every year and meet with the applicants for our grants. And we'll do 25, 30, 35 visits to these non-for-profits every year. So over the years, we've literally visited hundreds of these organizations, and we have a real good feel for where the needs are in the 7 counties that we fund.
Well, for me, I think we see examples of heroes every day in the nonprofits that we support. You know, it feels very, we're certainly very, as Andy said, grateful and humbled for this recognition, but really our work is supporting the heroes, everyday heroes. So our heroes, oh my gosh, you know, we could name, go on and on as to how many there are in our community, and we talk about a city of good neighbors. We really do live it every day when we see the work that's being done.
And I couldn't say it any better than Beth, so.
Saron Ogden, a senior at Buffalo Academy of the Sacred Heart, has served as a junior class president and currently is one of 5 seniors serving on student council. Saron has shown tremendous leadership skills, which has transferred into her activities both in and out of school. With Sacred Heart Academy going to a remote learning platform due to the pandemic, Saron has reached out to her fellow students by sending encouraging emails and keeping up a line of communication. She is active in spreading awareness about civil unrest and its causes and has raised funds for a family that lost their house and belongings in a fire. Saron is a participant in the M&T Bank Women in Leadership and Business Academy, a certificate program that introduces participants to career opportunities. Thank you, Saron.
My name is Saron Ogden. I attend Buffalo Academy of the Sacred Heart on Main Street, and I'm a senior in high school. I'm really interested in business and law, and I'm very passionate about social justice. Well, I've attended a predominantly white school since I was 5 years old. I've always attended Catholic schools, so I knew that a lot of my peers were kind of uneducated on things like this, and it was just completely out of their radar. Like, once the George Floyd murder happened, I remember being on a Zoom call when I heard about it, and I was just completely heartbroken, and my peers, they didn't feel the same way because they don't know what that feels like. So I remember taking the initiative to email my school. I think I included an article on what happened, like an article just explaining the George Floyd situation. And then I included like links to GoFundMes and petitions to sign to get the murderers charged in the George Floyd case. And then I just put a summary of like the importance of educating yourselves on those topics. And I just said that I was really passionate about it and everyone should care about what's going on. And when your parents believe something so strongly, it's kind of hard when like your friends believe something differently. Like I knew that a lot of my friends were kind of in a difficult situation. They were somewhere stuck in the middle. So getting defensive or being rude, I knew that that wasn't the right approach. The best thing I could do was kind of just keep sending them articles or just sharing my opinion and hoping that maybe they would come around. My faculty, like the administration at my school, they're actually really proud and they were happy that I said something because I remember waiting for, I thought that someone at my school was going to speak out and say something, but no one did, so that's why I just took the initiative to do it. But a lot of the faculty were really appreciative and they thought that it was something that was important as well.
How do you define a hero? What defines a hero for you?
I guess someone that just shows leadership and someone who steps up even if a lot of people are against them. Yeah, I guess I would kind of consider myself a hero then, but I guess it's just hard to like say it about myself. But yeah, someone that just shows leadership and is brave, and even if other people disagree, if it's something that they care about and it's something that they know is important, then they're gonna do it anyways.
As chief of the Buffalo Police Department C District, Chief Wright has made it his mission to provide a bridge between the police department and the community it serves. As a response to the ongoing civil unrest we face in Buffalo and across the country, Chief Wright has engaged with the community he serves by hosting food, mask, and hand sanitizer giveaways, hosting neighborhood cookouts, and providing toys for the children. His leadership style is service-based, intended to build a stronger community. He leads by example and encourages and enables others to do the same. Thank you, Chief Wright.
Talking to Chief Alfonso Wright, been on for 32 years with the Buffalo Police Department. I'm the chief of C District, which is the east side. The good thing about this is I started in patrol over in this area. And so this is like deja vu. I've always thought that if I had the more power here, that I could change things. So this right here is like my baby. I love being a chief here. I talked to my moms, you know, my mom's thank God she's 89 years of age. She said, listen, you don't give up. You try to make things better. Hear out what the people are talking about. And so I listened. When they came here and they had the peaceful protests, both times in front of the district, I listened to what they were talking about. And I took that and I talked to the officers, and I think our officers are a lot better because I stood out front. I didn't hide in the back. I made sure I came out front and listened to what they were saying. As you know, in Buffalo, compared to a lot of places, we don't have this problem. But when they see what happened, like the George Floyd incident and the recent shootings, all the officers tend to be put in one melting pot. And I figure that's not fair. So what I decided to do, and as the Buffalo Police Department, I have to give our administration, our mayor, a lot of credit. Go out, go into the community. It's gonna be hard, but guess what? Win them over. And that's what we've been doing. I've had cards, letters written, thank you for what you do. Some of the people that came in front of our station, hey, how you doing, Al? I didn't say Chief Wright when I went out there. How you doing, Al? How was everything? You know, can I help you with something? And that's big, that's huge. What I decided to do is do more community things at the district. So some of the guys, when we had the protests, I invited some of the people to help us. Stop by. We had a food giveaway. We had a drive-by Halloween giveaway, a turkey giveaway, a clothes giveaway, and it drew every time at least over 500 people there. And guess what? Some of the people that were out front, they got to meet the officers. They got to know them on a personal level, and I think that helped tremendously. I don't consider myself a hero. I figured we all should be doing this. And I'm not the only officer that's doing these, reaching out to the community and helping the community. I feel a hero can be a parent who takes care of their kids, a father who goes to work, or a mother every day, a mother who's single. She's a hero to me. And I watch this, and it's some great people in the city of Buffalo. I've been everywhere, and I'm telling you, I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. A hero to me who takes care of responsibility.
By far the youngest honoree the NFJC has ever had, Mackenzie Rusnick is a 7th grader at Lancaster Middle School, and her commitment to service and community should serve as an inspiration to us all. She is student council president and is known for both her strong work ethic and her compassionate spirit. Mackenzie is committed to giving back to her community, and she has combined both her baking and entrepreneurial skills to raise funds for local causes. This year, she and her mother started a homemade cookie company through which she bakes and decorates cookies to sell at school and community events. All proceeds raised this year were used to buy holiday gifts for Lancaster's children in need. And she is already working to raise funds via the cookie company for Roswell Park's Comprehensive Cancer Center next year. This year, Mackenzie also led the Student Council in organizing food drives for families impacted by the COVID crisis. Because of her hard work organizing, promoting, and facilitating these efforts, 36 families in Lancaster and Depew were able to prepare and enjoy Thanksgiving meals. A compassionate spirit indeed. Thank you, Mackenzie, for your incredible efforts. It is no surprise that, again, you are the youngest person we have ever honored.
I'm Mackenzie Rusnick. I am in 7th grade, and I go to school at Lancaster Middle School. It's been hard for when we went remote learning and when I was in 6th grade at William Street School. It really affected us because we were not in school with our teachers, and it was harder to communicate and to talk to them about our problems. And with your friends, we bonded closer over this, because we realized that even though we're apart, we can still be friends, and it made us stronger by when we're apart, we're together more. So I started a cookie business to raise money for Roswell Park. My grandpa, in 2016, he passed away from cancer, and I wanted to give back to Roswell Park for letting me spend extra time with my grandpa. So I wanted to be able to give back to my community while having fun. So we started an Instagram account with my business, Chica's Creations. Chica was my grandpa's name for me, so that's how I based my name off of my grandpa. And so we started our business, and we had lots of people email me for orders. And so I completed their orders for Thanksgiving and for Christmas, and everyone had good remarks, and they were very happy. And some people were donating money. Even if they didn't want cookies, they would donate money, because everyone felt a connection to my donation and to the charity that I'm donating to. A hero is someone, to me, is someone who helps others when they're in need and puts others before themselves. And I like to think of myself as someone who can help people, but someone who can be selfless while doing it, and someone who doesn't have to boast about helping people. And so I think that it's an honor to be called a hero, but I wouldn't consider myself one.
Dr. Rodney Herring is a director of the Center for Indigenous Cancer Research at Roswell Park Comprehensive Cancer Center, established in January of 2020. He's a member of the Seneca Nation of Indians Beaver Clan and began his 15-year career as a social worker, working with Indigenous communities on various health and disparities issues. His approach of using the 7 generations principle, meaning that being forward-thinking in our decision-making and how our actions today have impacted on the next 7 generations, will help to create a sustainable, healthy future. Dr. Herring has been instrumental in the recognition of Indigenous Peoples Day at Roswell Park and has been a key source of information on COVID-19 within the Native community. He was recently named by Roswell to lead a program that will address the cancer burden in rural areas and Native nations across the state, including Western New York. Thank you, Dr. Herring.
My name is Rodney Herring. I'm Seneca from the Cattaraugus territory of the Seneca Nation of Indians. I am also the director for the Center for Indigenous Cancer Research at Roswell Park Comprehensive Cancer Center. At the beginning of the pandemic, we wanted to learn from our Indigenous colleagues from across the world what was going on in their respective communities, and especially in the terms of cancer and health disparities. And so I believe it was in early March, we brought together one of the first kind of global Indigenous Zooms. We didn't even know what Zoom was back then. We didn't even know, all this virtual technology that was going to bring us all together, not by choice, but by the things that we had to do. And so in the beginning, we brought together the Maori of New Zealand, who are the Indigenous peoples of New Zealand, and the doctors and researchers working there to see what was going on in their communities and what that meant to us. And then we also included the Canadian First Nations peoples in this conversation, and the Native Hawaiians, and us here in the United States, and the Indigenous peoples of the United States, to really have an early conversation of what this meant for our communities. I think, reflecting back, what has been my contribution, what has been our contribution, and for us, for myself, it's really been the science and the methodology of the vaccine. I am part of a panel, an expert panel for Indigenous peoples as it's part of Operation Warp Speed. And within that, our contributions as Indigenous scientists is really to look at the methodology of that science to make sure that we are included in that science. Indigenous cultures, we have to look beyond what's happening now. We have to look forward for future generations, 7 generations forward. So we lay a footprint here. We provide information and we look at it now, but in reality, we're looking forward for future generations and the health of our children and their children. And so when we take that into context, it isn't just the here and now. We have to make sure that we're creating healthy, strong, beautiful minds and bodies moving forward.
Coming up, our Lifetime Achievement Award.
Dakari mobilizes people to provide food, masks, and hope to his community. Daliana delivered care packages to each of her special needs students during quarantine. Dan personally manufactured intubation equipment and donated it to area hospitals. Right now, the red shirt treatment can come from any of us. So Independent Help is proud to call Dakari and Daliana and Dan honorary red shirts.
Music has a way of connecting us and bringing us closer together. Deborah Greitzer has shared her message of unity through music with us, and we're grateful to share this with you in honor of our community heroes.
My name is Deborah Greitzer. I'm a violinist in the Buffalo Philharmonic Orchestra. During the pandemic, the Philharmonic has been sharing musical videos on its website, music we recorded in the past, new concerts that the orchestra is producing under challenging conditions, and videos made by individual musicians with friends or family members. We miss playing together, and we miss sharing music with live audiences. So you're going to hear some music I played with my daughter Rebecca Willie, her husband Eric, and their two young children, my grandchildren, Aiden and Alina. I'm in Canada, they're in North Carolina. We're playing two Irish folk tunes, Road to Lisdoonvarna and Swallowtail Jig. By the way, the drum that Eric is playing is a bodhran, spelled B-O-D-H-R-A-N, which he purchased in Ireland.
And now I have the privilege and honor of introducing a new award for the NFJC. It is the Lana D. Benetovich Lifetime Achievement Award. The Lana D. Benetovich Lifetime Achievement Award is presented to an individual or an organization on the basis of their long-standing commitment to the Western New York community. This award was created upon the retirement of longtime NFJC President Lana Benetovich, who dedicated her distinguished career to respectfully bridging divides and bringing people together. Like Lana, the recipient will have demonstrated a commitment to betterment of the Western New York region by inspiring with passion, guiding through example, living through loving, and leaving an indelible mark on the future. The recipient also embodies the mission and principles of the NFJC while making diversity and inclusion a top priority. As Lana did in her many years of dedicated service, the recipient has immensely improved the lives of countless individuals in ways that will impact our region for generations to come. Selected by committee, this year's inaugural recipient of the Lana D. Benetovich Lifetime Achievement Award is Dr. Michael Kropp. Here to introduce Dr. Kropp and tell us more about him is his longtime board member, Brenda McDuffie. Thank you, Brenda, for being here.
Well, I think it's important to recognize that Dr. Kropp in particular and his leadership has been there pre-pandemic. He has been very aware as well as working towards identifying solutions to the healthcare disparities. They have a terminology that's used called social determinants of health, and clearly when you look at them as it relates to this community, they are primarily disparities that exist for Black and brown people, people who are impoverished. And he has made sure that through the work of this organization, the organization he's led, that there is a keen awareness and focus on those areas. And so the pandemic has only exasperated it for the larger community, but the community that he leads has been acutely aware of it and doing things about it. He's been always deeply committed to making sure that every single person had access to, they could afford it, and if they couldn't afford it, providing a way, reaching out above and beyond to communities that may not normally be on the radar screen of a CEO, to be very honest with you. And he has required, and I think it starts at the top, that's what leadership is. He has required that his associates, as they call them, his employees, do the same. They call it the red shirt treatment. Well, everybody gets the red shirt treatment. Mike is one of the most humble, kind, compassionate leaders that this community is blessed to have. He is, he's just really ordinary people doing extraordinary things. And he doesn't make a point of, being the person that's out in front. My picture has to be here. He walks the talk. This is the life he has chosen. He has a value system that comes out, and that's what values are. Those are the things that people can expect of you, no matter where you see each other, no matter what the circumstance is. He's welcoming, he's warm, he's intelligent, he's well informed, and like I said, he's a compassionate leader. And it's exactly what our community needs. And he's not afraid to use his voice and his knowledge and his expertise on behalf of others. He listens and makes sure that if he can add to the response and the solution, he's doing that.
I'm Dr. Michael Kropp, and I am fortunate to be the president and CEO of Independent Health. Well, I've been at Independent Health for 24 years, and I've been the CEO for 16 of those 24 years. I wouldn't. I would consider myself a lucky individual who had some great mentors and friends and learning experiences along the way, and have been fortunate to be in a position to kind of look at the world through a lens of, all right, well, you know, what problem is out there that we are uniquely positioned to be able to help solve, and to recognize that no individual and no one organization is probably positioned to be able to solve it. So how can we begin to frame that problem so others will join in and take ownership and then work together to make that difference? And boy, that's a spirit that I see in this community time and time again. And I think one of the best decisions of my life, and one of the most fortunate transitions in my life, was the decision to come to Buffalo in 1990, because I wanted to raise my family in a community that valued community, that valued education, that valued that spirit of collaboration, and you know, was a bit of an underdog, and realized that, you know, by working together, we might be working from behind some challenges, but by working together, we're going to get further. And I could just feel that when I, you know, looked at Buffalo from afar and then had a closer look. So I consider myself just a very lucky individual, and lucky to have worked with a few heroes along the way. Lana being, you know, one of them, who was the consummate giver and the consummate connector, in able to bring people together to address problems that no one of them could do on their own. You know, while the healthcare folks have gotten a lot of publicity, and boy, do they deserve the accolades for, you know, putting their life in harm's way, there are other people, you know, who work in the same institutions who are just as much in harm's way that haven't gotten the recognition. You know, I think about the maintenance staff, I think about the food service staff, I think about the custodial staff, and these people kept going to work and just doing their part to make a difference. So for me, the heroes are those people who saw an opportunity to, one, not only do their job and carry through without any consideration of the harm that they're putting themselves in the way of, and then those people who reached back a little bit further and were willing to take ownership of something that was bigger than just their job or themselves. And that sense of agency that people have, for me, really defines one of the traits of heroes that we see in this community.
Thank you, everyone, for the privilege of your time today. We hope you enjoyed our 2021 Community Heroes Awards. Congratulations to all of the honorees. We can all be heroes. We look forward to connecting with you in the future. Visit us at nfjcwny.org.
The NFJC counts on supporters like you. Visit our site, nfjcwny.org, today to donate and connect with our programs and mission.